Hey everybody, welcome to CAF Warbird Tube, the show where we talk about World War II, aviation, history, and so much more. Warbird Tube is produced by the Commemorative Air Force, the world's largest flying museum. Our mission is to educate, inspire, and honor through flight and living history experiences. The CAF began the Warbird movement more than 65 years ago, and thanks to the support of individuals like you, we continue to grow strong. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and now our host, Steve Buss. Thanks for watching and keep 'em flying.
Good evening, aviation enthusiasts, and welcome to CAF Warbird Tube. Tonight is episode number 164. We're going to talk with EAA's Rick Larsen to get the latest features and attractions news from AirVenture, which we're now less than 30 days away from opening day. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome to Warbird Tube, or if you're a loyal Warbird Tube fan, welcome back. We're thrilled to have you with us tonight. You know, if you do enjoy our shows, don't forget to spread the word on your favorite social media platforms. We do appreciate that. As you're watching tonight, you might have some questions. Just type those in the chat box, and we'll try to answer them either during the presentation or before we sign off tonight. So joining me right now is Rick Larsen from the Experimental Aircraft Association, affectionately known as EAA. Rick, glad to have you back on the show, and tell us what's coming up at the end of July.
Good to be here. 26 days, Steve, but who's really counting?
No.
No,
a lot of people are counting. I can tell you.
Yeah, that. I know. Now we're really excited this year. I think we've got a great, a great show and a great event coming at everybody. And at this point, feel really good about everything. And hopefully we get good cooperation from the weather, and we should be in good shape. So. Excellent. The first slide here, we'll go through, what 2024 is looking like from a features and attraction standpoint tonight. But, for anybody who's not been here before, I always like to throw the slide up, that really, tries to encapsulate what this thing is all about. And, in the end, it's part air show, it's part convention, it's part expo. And it's really part family reunion, and that all kind of rolls into one. You go back to the history of this, and you're talking 1953, Timmerman Field in Milwaukee, and 150 people show up for, quote unquote, a fly-in of EAA members. You look at where that has come, since then, and where we wound up last year with, 675,000 people from 60 countries, at somewhere in the neighborhood of 10,000 airplanes involved in, flying into, the area, 40,000 campers at any point in time that are on the grounds, 2,500 show planes, 800 exhibitors, media from all over the world, 800 plus forums, and that's probably a really understated number, and then our daily and night shows. And, the number on here that probably means the most, for all of us here at EAA, and that's 5,000 plus volunteers, because as you know, Steve, this thing doesn't happen without that. We can sit here and, try to provide some direction and hopefully provide some resources. But at the end of the day, it's those volunteers that make it happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's always been that way. It's always been part of the magic of what AirVenture is really all about, is, how it's delivered, and that how it's delivered happens because of the folks that are doing it, and that's our volunteers.
Absolutely. And you bring up a good point. It's not an air show. It's not just a convention. It's not a trade show. It's not an expo. It's all those things combined. And really, I know for first timers, it's sort of overwhelming trying to take everything in. And then, of course, there's those of us who've been there for years and years and years, and it's still impossible to take it all in. But every year is different, and it just keeps getting better. And what are some of the things that are coming up this year? Well, first of all, we should recognize the team that helps put this all together.
Yeah, and it's just the folks that are really involved in this. When we look at how we pull together features and attractions here for the event, and it starts with Jack, and you can kind of go down the line here. It's an effort that you can flip to the next one, Steve. It's an effort that you know goes on basically year round. I mean, when you look at how we started for 2024, it started in August when we got back together and said, okay, what worked, what didn't work, what can we do better? And start to throw the ideas against the wall in terms of what are the themes, what are the things that we might want to focus on when we look at 2024. And it's the process is inclusive. I mean, we really try to get all of our special interest communities involved. Clearly we look at Oshkosh, we look at AirVenture as a platform for aviation in many ways. So what are the things that we want to highlight? What are the things we want to shed light on? We tend to think pretty big at that point in time when we get together. Not every idea makes it, all the way through, but, you go back and at least over, the last several years, I look at, the meetings we had in August and, what were the things that, I pulled together at that point. And then you look at what happened the next July, and there's probably a 80% hit rate on those things that we identified in August versus what we executed come July. So and I think this year no exception to that. If you look at the anchors that we have, we have for the last several years focused on a major command of the Air Force. And this year it was Materiel Command. And, Materiel Command takes into consideration things like Edwards Air Force Base, Wright-Patterson. It's the research and development side and testing side for the Air Force. And with that, potentially brings a lot of assets into play. Not necessarily every asset that is under the control of Materiel Command now, but all the things that have gone through Materiel Command and things that will go back through. So if you look at this year, and you look at the presence on the on the plaza by the Air Force this year, and in particular Materiel Command, they're bringing a B-52H. Well, that airplane is going to go through a major re-engine, campaign again, to continue to extend the service life, that is. When you think back on it, an airplane that's been flying since 1953 or 1954 that is still a frontline, part of the Air Force, from a global strike standpoint, pretty phenomenal, and with the re-engineering, it's going to continue to go. But, Air Force this year is bringing 4 Materiel Command, B-52, a C-12, the F-15EX, which is the next generation of a platform that has also been flying a long time and continues to go. They're going to bring a C-17. Out of their museum assets, they're bringing an X-40, which is a lifting body test platform. And that was not necessarily on our radar screen that, somehow, we would wind up tapping into museum resources, for example, with Materiel Command, but that also falls, kind of under the Wright, Patterson operation at Dayton. So it did open that up, but you're going to see a comprehensive presence of the Air Force this year again. Last year we kind of, did that for the first time in my mind with Training Command. Mm-hmm. When you looked at the overall presence of the Air Force at AirVenture, and you're going to see that this year with Materiel Command on the plaza in Gateway Park. They've got 2 large tents in Gateway Park, Theater in the Woods on Saturday night, You know, and we'll get into the Theater in the Woods stuff in a minute, but you know, just an overall real strong presence. One of the other ones that we identified right away in August was 100th anniversary of the Royal Canadian Air Force. We had been trying for the last 3 to 4 years, to bring the snowbirds back.
Right.
When we talked about it for 23, their focus was, you know what, we'd really like to come back in 24 because it's our 100th anniversary. And we'd like to make, you know, Oshkosh one of those anchor statements for, you know, the snowbirds. But with that now has come the Skyhawks, the jump team. We had reached out and asked for them. Our understanding initially was, you know, you don't get all three, the CF-18, the Skyhawks, snowbirds at really most shows, and the CF-18 wound up becoming available, as did the Skyhawks, due to some changes in air show scheduling up in Canada. So, you know, one of the things that's going to be unique this year is having all three here in Oshkosh. When you look at Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which will be the days that they'll be flying, it'll be pretty significant. With this, we've got the Lancaster coming from the Canadian Warplane Heritage side. We haven't had the Lancaster here for several years. One of the cool things that's going to happen with that is on Wednesday night, we're going to start the air show with both Doc and Fifi in the air, and they will be joined by the Lancaster. And as you and I were chatting, you know, ahead of this, you know, I'm not sure when or if that has ever happened,
Right.
you know, obviously from an air show standpoint, but if that has ever really happened, period, you know, having, you know, B-29s and Lancasters and Lancaster in the air at the same time. Vintage Wings is also bringing Victory Flight, which is a P-51 Hurricane and Spitfire. That's also going to fly with the CF-18 on Saturday. So I think the presence, you know, along with some of the Canadian Warbirds that we'll have here, you know, our ability to go help celebrate, you know, the RCF 100th, I think is going to be significant. And I think it's going to be a, you know, a memorable few days as we go focus on that.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the other elements for 2024 is really Burt Rutan, and having him you know, come back for the 50th anniversary of, as he puts it, the 50th anniversary of Composite Canards. You know, you've seen it over the years. When Burt is here, he draws a crowd. And, you know, he is really looking forward to AirVenture this year and being here. You know, he'll arrive on Monday. We're going to showcase a number of the Rutan designs in the flying in the air show as part of showcase. There'll be a number of Rutan designs on the plaza that day. He'll arrive during the air show in a Starship, and then that evening he'll be over at Theater in the Woods. And you know, the other thing we were talking about ahead of time, that will be one of those nights, you know, where, you know, it will be standing room only everywhere around Theater in the Woods for Burt. But, you know, I think he's looking at it from the standpoint, it has been a number of years since he's been here. And, you know, I think, you know, his desire to be here is somewhat tied certainly by, you know, to his brother's passing just recently. And, you know, so I think he, you know, you know, from his standpoint, Oshkosh, you know, becomes really important this year. We're going to wind up doing a memorial service for Dick on Tuesday at the Brown Arch. That'll really, you know, very directly involve Burt, and you know, he'll, you know, Burt's excited about not just Monday at you know, Theater in the Woods, but, you know, he's going to do a forum every day through Friday. He wants to do Dick's Voyager talk in the museum one of the days. So, you know, I think this will be a memorable year when it comes to Bert being here, and you know, I think you know, obviously our audience, our attendees, our members, you know, certainly, you know, hold Bert in high regard, and you know, I think it'll be a great week for him.
Yeah.
So from a you know, from a Warbird standpoint, you know, one of the things that we wanted to go focus on this year was, you know, the 80th anniversary of 1944. You know, both in terms of D-Day, but really looking at it, you know, more broadly from the whole turning of the tide side. You know, pivotal year as far as the war went. And, you know, so what we wanted to try to do is put something together that, you know, really helps to, you know, commemorate 1944. So, you know, you'll see everything from you know, a really strong and unique Theater in the Woods presentation on Tuesday, and what Chris Henry has pulled together, working with Jeff Duford, you know, from the Air Force Museum, is an integration of our timeless voices into Theater in the Woods very directly. As you know, everybody knows on this call, it is becoming more and more difficult, you know, to hear this firsthand. You know, the veterans are disappearing. And, you know, so we had got together early on and talked about what can we do from a Theater in the Woods standpoint. And that's where we looked at, you know, our timeless voices as a way to do that. So Jeff and Chris have kind of curated, you know, a number of timeless voices clips that we can integrate into, you know, Jeff Duford talking about 1944. So, you know, we look forward to that. I think that's going to be really good. I think the plaza presence for 1944 is going to be fantastic, especially when you look at, you know, Wednesday, you know, D-Day and the 80th anniversary of 1944 for us is going to be kind of a midweek, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. When you look at Wednesday, I think it'll be pretty significant, you know, in that on the plaza we'll have, we say two C-47s, C-47 and a C-53, two P-47s, one from the Fagan collection, but also Bonnie, a Hellcat that'll join one of the B-29s. It'll join the Lancaster. It'll join the Canadian Victory Flight, all on the plaza. Our intent with the C-53 is, between the daytime show and the night show, is to get the invasion stripes painted on that airplane. You know, which I think would be really cool for a lot of folks that have never, you know, seen that or really understood how that was really done. It certainly wasn't done with straight lines and masking tape. And, you know, I think this is a way to help tell that story in a real tangible way. We've also got the World War II airborne demo team jumping, and we're going to have them jump with the round canopies and a static line jump at, you know, between 1,250 and 1,500 feet, which would be really cool, I think, you know, for most people to see. You know, and hopefully the you know, winds and that allow that to happen. You know, we plan that for a couple times during the week, and you know, I think that'll be really unique. You know, again, we've talked about it a lot. There's you know, certainly limitations to it. You know, but in the end, I think it, you know, for what we're doing for 1944, it's the right thing to go focus on. So,
yeah.
NASA, another big part of what, you know, what we try to do every year is put a little bit of focus on space, and you know, doing that, you know, primarily through NASA, but not exclusively. This year at Theater in the Woods, the focus is really on the Artemis program, and Artemis 2 in particular. And NASA has come through with a strong list of folks that will be here representing that mission, from flight director to an astronaut to scientists to geologists to, you know, the folks that really are involved, you know, to go make that happen. So I think that'll be a special night on Friday when we do that. And then, they'll have a significant presence in Gateway Park. They're bringing one of their T-38s, which will be out on the plaza. We want to continue to showcase, what is going on, with Artemis. We talk about it a lot here that, we don't necessarily see it being leveraged maybe the way it could to, stimulate interest in the space program, get kids more interested just in aviation and aerospace. In that, here we are, a year or two or whatever it might be, 3 years away from, going back to the moon. And, we think that's something, again, as a platform at AirVenture that we can utilize. So, we certainly want to go do that. The other area that we always try to put some focus on, and I think it's something that people coming to Oshkosh every year expect is what's new, what's going on from an innovation standpoint. We've targeted the last few years Tuesday as Innovations Day, and so this year what we've got is a combination of what'll be on the plaza and then what'll fly in the showcase at the start of the air show on Tuesday. So you see a pretty wide range of aircraft and drones and that'll be flying. Pivotal will fly their Black Fly. Pipistrel brings their electric aircraft. We'll have Wing on the plaza, which is a delivery service. Some ag drones, Great Lakes drones. Embry-Riddle will have, some displays there. The Tetra, those folks have reached out. They'll be on the plaza. And then one of the things that we have coming this year is the MQ-9, a Reaper. It'll be flying in on Saturday, piloted by a pilot in Florida. And it'll be here on the plaza all week long, which I think, that's certainly something that, a lot of people haven't had an opportunity to necessarily go see. It is our hope that we're able to go fly it on Tuesday during Innovations Day. We're still working through some details on that one, but we'd love to go see that happen. In addition, on Tuesday, from a flying standpoint, there's some ag drones that'll fly, and then Magni X is bringing their all-electric Beaver, and so that'll be flying, from the seaplane base. And participate in the showcase flying. We expect it to also fly again later on in the week when the seaplanes do their showcase flying. We see that as part of that. So a lot of stuff going on from an innovation standpoint, and we want to keep pushing this. There's a lot of elements here that are evolving technology, and again, I think from a platform standpoint, AirVenture, certainly provides a way to go put some light on that.
Absolutely. As drones have become more and more popular and more widely used, is there still a drone zone at AirVenture where people can kind of explore the world of drones?
There isn't per se. There's going to be, some opportunities for that, but we're not where we were at one point. Okay. Most of what, we see, is the opportunity to showcase what's going on commercially from a drone standpoint, which is obviously a segment that's going to continue to grow.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that is going on is it's the 20th anniversary for us for Sport Pilot LSA, which seems hard to believe. I think that was the first year that I joined EAA. We were in the middle of getting the rule going into effect, and really it was sort of giving birth to that after a fairly long period of development. And so we've been 20 years with that, and sitting on top of Sport Pilot, is the rulemaking that is out there called Mosaic. that EAA has really spearheaded, which really becomes Sport Pilot LSA 2.0. I mean, that's what we're calling it, which really is expanded privileges, greatly expanded reach of aircraft that will be covered by Sport Pilot, which then has all of those trickled down positives in terms of, Sport Pilot as a more accessible form of training, because virtually anybody that's running, private pilot training at an FBO or flight school at this point, will have aircraft that will allow for Sport Pilot, training, Sport Pilot aircraft rental, etc. It's really a big deal. So we really want to use the Sport Pilot LSA 20th as really a way for us to foreshadow what to expect over the next year as that rule goes into effect. And there'll be a presence on a plaza on Monday. Some may look at it and go, why is there a Cessna 172 sitting on the plaza? It will be on the plaza with a number of folks, along with a number of other aircraft that are related to the Sport Pilot LSA side and Mosaic. But that 172 is going to be sitting there because that's going to be an airplane that, looks like it will be Sport Pilot eligible, or will be Sport Pilot eligible with Mosaic. And so, we want people out there asking questions, what is it? How does it affect me? Whether it is as an existing pilot, a new pilot, as a flight school operator, as a CFI, it has an impact across all of that. So we really want to put some focus on that. The nice colored picture here at the bottom is the Italian team. We had gotten word early on that they were coming to North America really as part of the 100th anniversary of our CAF. They were invited to come, and they wanted to be here in North America to help celebrate the 100th anniversary. And they will be performing the following weekend down in Milwaukee. They're going to come to AirVenture on Tuesday. So they'll bring all the jets, make a few passes. We'll put one of the airplanes out on the plaza. And then during the air show, they will depart again, make some passes. We don't have the full box for them, so it's not necessarily an aerobatic performance. But I think just having them here, having them make multiple passes with the multicolored smoke will be really, I think, really cool. So, and they are looking forward to, touching Oshkosh. So,
and that highlights the international flavor of the event. You alluded to the international visitors that come every year. I mean, there's an actual international visitors center, pavilion, tent, whatever you want to call it, that is a hub of activity for those who are not from North America, and gives them a chance to meet other people from different countries, from their own country as well, that they may not have known. Interpreters are available, and that is something that's gone on for many, many years at AirVenture, and it just keeps getting bigger.
Yeah, it does keep getting bigger, and we, at the end of the day, we're not sure how many, visitors we have internationally. We know the number when it comes to those that register at the international tent, right, is 2,000 or 3,000 folks that will, come that way and will know about. There's clearly more, but it's something I think that we've always focused on is, how do we help make that experience a good experience? In many cases, English is not first language. How are we helping them with that? How are we helping them get around the grounds? And at the end of the day, how do we help them have the same experience anybody else would have here? So, it's a big deal. And I think, with what we're doing with the Italian team being here, with the, what we're doing, obviously this year with Canada and RCAF, it's all part of that. But, as you said, it continues to grow.
Yeah, and don't forget the International Visitors Parade on Friday.
Yes, that's right.
11 o'clock. It's fun to see all the different flags. All the international visitors gather by country, and they follow their flag down to the flight line and have a nice ceremony about noon at Airshow Center.
Absolutely. I had Twilight Flight Fest down here. Not that it's something new, but just kind of a reminder for anybody who has not been down to Twilight Flight Fest. This is, I think it's 7 years now that we've been doing this. We do this on the nights, so we don't do a night air show. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. It is a completely different vibe down at the ultralight strip. It runs, basically from 8 o'clock to about 9:30 at night. Heavy dose of families, kids, a younger crowd. And what goes on there is, we do a STOL demo. This year we'll fly Pivotal down there, the Black Fly, jump teams, the Arrhythmia paramotor team, 3DRC after it gets dark. And then it ends with a balloon glow. And it's just a fun way to end a day at Oshkosh. And, honestly, it started with conversations that, you go through the entire day and, the air show ends and not everybody's done watching airplanes at, 6 or 6:30. And, we wanted to, when we started this, wanted to see what, we could do, by offering, one more thing to do. And it has gone over incredibly well. The crowds grow every year, and it's just fun.
Yeah.
Other highlights, I had Honor Flight down here. I mean, I highlight this every year, but, it really boils down to, if you're here on Friday and you're here in the afternoon on Friday and, for the air show itself, stick around at the end of the air show. The Honor Flight comes back from Washington. It had departed earlier in the morning, bringing a plane load. American Airlines is flying it again this year, bringing a plane load of veterans, Vietnam veterans, back to Oshkosh for a welcome home ceremony. And that welcome home ceremony legitimately is to me one of the most emotional and coolest things that I think we do during the week. And you realize how much it means to these veterans that, for the most part, never got a welcome home. And in many of them, it was something far from a welcome home. And so our ability, again, how we can, use AirVenture as a way to accomplish that welcome home is really a big deal. And, it happens right at the end of the air show on Friday. So if you're on the grounds, you're there for the air show, go over to the plaza. The American aircraft will pull right into the throat on Papa 2, and the vets will be playing, and we have a relatively short ceremony. But the most important thing that happens is they walk through that crowd, and it really is a welcome home. So really important part of what we do. I down here just, our Four Corners, we've got a Learn to Fly Center that we have now, this will be, I think, 3rd year for that. It's one of those things that we look at and go, all right, we're all about growing participation in aviation. For many years, somebody that shows up at Oshkosh and goes, I always thought about doing that. Where do I go? Well, you could go, maybe 40 different places to get a little bit of information, but there wasn't that one place to go. And in this case, now there's SIMs there, there's CFIs there, there's forums, there's everything that goes on there, your ability to go, get your application in for your student pilot certificate. You can do all that in a Learn to Fly Center. And, I think, when you look at the numbers, the number of people that are going through that all week long, I think it is a big help. But also at that Four Corners, we got membership, we got merchandise, and we've got a youth welcome center. That was the first time we did it last year, which is really aimed at families. AirVenture is big. Got a family. What are the things I can do? What are the things that are here that are oriented towards kids and families? And so we try to help families with that. And then we've got KidVenture that, every year just keeps getting, bigger and stronger. And, I think, you look at the total number of kids that go through KidVenture every year, and that number is staggering. And, those are all impacts that we're trying to make in a positive way, about aviation, about what it's all about. And maybe plant some seeds that, sprout 10 years later, in terms of what do I want to go do? What am I interested in? And so, that's really the focus of KidVenture.
And also the Rise Above trailer will be there again this year.
Yep,
KidVenture. So you can find them there at KidVenture. Where is KidVenture located for those who don't know?
It is. It's right adjacent to or on Pioneer Airport here. It's either a walk or it's a quick ride on a bus from the bus terminal at the site. It's a 5-minute ride over here to Pioneer Airport, and KidVenture is a primary element here along with the museum. Every year there's a variety of gatherings. We already talked about, the Rattan aircraft. When you look at this particular list, the one that pops out in terms of numbers is going to be the Aranca 80th. I think we've got well over 100 registered at this point. So, in vintage, you will see a sea of Arancas, and it's Arancas of every type, including a number of C3s that'll be flying in. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. But you look at it from the various aircraft, from vintage to the experimental side, to the T-28, and I think some really meaningful anniversaries, and that always draws individual crowds from folks that are either interested in the type or are owners and operators. So. This is, I think this is a relatively complete list. It may not be completely complete, but, when you go look at, current military that'll be here on the grounds, I've talked about a number of these already. I mean, this is a list that's out there, that we're looking at, in and out during the week, at various times, some on the plaza. Some, flying. We'll talk about demo teams here in a second. And, we appreciate, the interest and enthusiasm that the military has, to, again, showcase here at Oshkosh. This is also a year where, real strong interest from our demo teams. What started as, 2 or 3 demo teams that we thought we would have coming out of ICAS in December, has grown to this list. So, things to highlight here. Yes, it's the A10 demo team. This is a final year for that demo team, as the A10, finally kind of hits that point where it'll ultimately be phased out. I've included the dates here when these are flying, or the days of the week. A10, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. F-35A was a relatively late ad. Met with them and with Mock, the pilot, at when we were down at Sun and Fun, and it was, hey, we really want to be there. What can we do to get there? And so they'll fly Tuesday, Wednesday, and Wednesday night show. F-16 Viper, was one of the ones that, we had kind of focused on. They'll be here Monday, Saturday, and Sunday. The cool thing is that image of the F-16 there is the current demo team airplane. It's in the, kind of the original flight test colors, when it was originally, going through development. I think that's going to be, pretty spectacular. F-22 Wednesday night and Thursday. Again, we talked about the CF-18 over the weekend. The Growlers Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then we've got a C-17 that wants to come in they're going to fly up from Milwaukee, do their demo, and fly back on Thursday. So, a great array of demo teams this year. Boyd Martin, Tim Fitzgerald have done a great job with this. One of our intents is on the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, when we've got the expanded aerobatic box to accommodate the snowbirds, is to also use that to fly a demo team. So, the Viper will fly and et cetera, with, inside that box during the time that we've got it. So, it will be utilized for more than just the snowbirds. One of the things with the air show, when we look at the night show, is we've got Starlight Aerial Productions as part of this year. They're bringing 600 drones, and you'll see a full integration into the night show of flying, fireworks, and drones. I think it will make for a spectacular night show. I think we've been known for the night shows and the fireworks and everything. I think we add the drones to it, and I think we're gonna be in good shape. Steve, we're hoping you don't have to introduce Sweet Caroline. We've got, an absolute commitment that, the fireworks will go off without any hesitation, and we expect that. And I think we're going to be in really good shape.
Oh, good.
Which, by the way, thank you for that. Yeah, I pulled a list of just some rather than going through the daily schedules, which are now out there. You can go to the website, ea.org under AirVenture, and you can kind of pull up the details. But just some highlights on a day-to-day basis. Monday, talked about Rutan and the arrival. There'll be a heritage flight. We're doing a NORAD demo. Tuesday, we've got the Innovations airplanes flying, Warbird show, heritage flight, the round canopies as part of D-Day, the Italians showing up, and we'll have a Delta A350 on the plaza for the day. They'll be arriving in the morning and spending the day. Wednesday, another Warbird show. Again, the round canopies, the Victory Flight, RCAF Victory Flight, Women Venture. Wednesday night, we talked about Fifi and Doc, and that they will be, at this point, the plan is to be joined by the Lancaster, which I think will be a real highlight, when we think about it from an air show standpoint. Thursday, again, Warbirds, Victory Flight, Red Bull flies. Friday, we start to move into the Canadian side. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you're seeing Skyhawks along with the Snowbirds and the CF-18 and so on. So I think, the air show overall is just looking really, really solid. Yeah. Again, just from just a highlight standpoint, the Wednesday night we talked about CF-18 flying with a number of different airplanes, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The MQ-9 on Tuesday. Again, we're working on that one. Not a done deal, but I think I think there's at least a possibility there. Round canopies, the Italians, Victory Flight flying Wednesday and Thursday are just some of the highlights. Theater in the Woods, talked about most of these. This is the lineup starting on Sunday night. And again, Bert on Monday, 1944, Turning the Tide. Tuesday, Women Venture, then Snowbirds and RCF 100th. Friday is NASA and Artemis 2. And Saturday, the Material Command is going to focus on test pilot school and the impact that has globally on what they do there. So I think that'll be really cool. I think the lineup each night looks really strong. This is the Flying Movie Theater lineup. We're kicking it off again with Top Gun on Saturday night. And, when we did Saturday night for the first time, we weren't sure what to actually expect. I mean, it's Saturday. People are still obviously gathering, and to have 3,000 or 4,000 people show up for a movie that everybody has seen 20 times is pretty darn cool. And so this year the lineup is Top Gun. On Sunday we're showing A Million Miles Away. We get into some more classic movies like Fighter Squadron and Toward the Unknown. We're showing Firebirds on Wednesday. Thursday, Captain of the Clouds. Friday, we're going to show the Blue Angels IMAX, which I think will be spectacular. It'll be really cool, I think, to see that on the big screen outside. And then we're going to end it Saturday with The Right Stuff.
Yeah.
I wanted to throw this in here, just a reminder on, I talked about the expanded box for aerobatic box for the snowbirds, which means for everybody on the west side of the runway, on the EA side, the crowd side, it means some changes on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. In the mornings, wide open, Friday and Saturday, from 7 a.m. to 1:15, no changes. From 1:15 to 4:30, if you need to get to your airplane, there'll be airplanes that will be parked in that area between the two crowd lines. If you need to get there, you can do that with an escort until 4:30. And then once the box goes into effect between 4:30 and 6:15, 6:30, there's no access. No access until the snowbirds are on the ground and have finished. Sunday, the hours just vary and times vary with the start of the air show. But we just wanted to get that out there. We are going to enforce, no chairs and blankets and everything being left between the two crowd lines. So you've got the normal burn line, and that will revert back to what is in essence a speaker pole line, as we would call it. If you look at the speaker poles that are up and down, that becomes the crowd line, and that crowd line will extend all the way down to ultralights, and then all the way up through Warbirds. So we've talked about most of this, but these are, to me, cool things you don't want to miss. I mentioned Twilight Flight Fest, B-52 arrival. That's actually going to be Sunday late afternoon now when it arrives. So my expectation is you'll have a boatload of people out on the flight line watching the B-52 arrive. I mentioned Top Gun. Wednesday night we talked about. I wanted to throw in the chapter pavilion in the campground in Camp Scholler and the pancake breakfasts that are available there. It's a great way to go start the day, an economical way to start the day. The CF-18 demo, and again, flying with some of the other, other aircraft. Our Learn to Fly Center and Youth Programming Center, the Italians. Wednesday evening on the Plaza again, I think is going to be really memorable. And I think I've got one more slide of.
Yep. Before we jump off, one of our viewers, Nate, was wondering what's the schedule for Frecce Tricolori when they're here. They're just here on Tuesday, correct?
They're just here on Tuesday. They'll be arriving mid-morning, and they will land. All but one of the airplanes will park over at the terminal. We'll bring one of the airplanes out on the plaza. We expect all the team members to be there with the airplane. It'll be there for most of the, early afternoon, and then later in the day, towards the end of the air show, the team will depart and go back to Milwaukee. Okay. But both on the arrival and on departure, the plan is to do multiple passes, with smoke on, and it should be fun.
Good.
I mentioned the F-16 Viper. I just think from a when you go look at it from a, as far as the color scheme on the airplane and the paint on the airplane, pretty dang cool. Same goes actually for the CF-18. That CF-18 demo aircraft always has a unique paint job. This year it's, the 100th anniversary. And that airplane is going to be based on the Plaza most of the week. So, you'll have an opportunity to see that. Mentioned the night shows. If you've not been out to the seaplane base, get out to the seaplane base. Absolutely a little bit of a respite from, what is happening, a couple miles away. Bird at Theater in the Woods on Monday. Women Ventures Photo on Wednesday. Again, Theater in the Woods itself. Great programming, opportunities to hear stuff firsthand. That honor flight, welcome home celebration. And then throughout the week, with all the airplanes that we've got on the Plaza, we've got planeside interviews occurring, which I think is a great way to, understand more and hear it firsthand from the pilots and those folks that are operating the airplanes. So, one more thing not to miss.
There you go. As you say, you got to be there.
You got to be there.
A couple of questions that we had. Bill Foraker is, Bill, of course,
right.
And he's trying to get a great lineup of aircraft that he'd like to put this thought in your head. If you could get the, we've got the Lancaster and the B-29s flying, but then we should have a B-25, the Lancaster, B-29s, the B-52, and get a B-1. Put those all up in sequence. That would definitely be something.
That would be something. It doesn't mean that at various times throughout the week, if you're there all week, you see all of those.
You'll see all of them.
Yeah.
Is there actually a B-1 on the horizon? Or is that...
There isn't at this point, but you never know.
What about B-17s? Are there any 17s that are planned to come? I know that Yankee Lady is a regular, and that airplane is just recently sold.
Yeah. I don't know specifically, Steve. I'm assuming, we may see one or two, but I don't know that specifically at this point.
But if you want to see a B-17, aluminum overcast is in the museum, back in the Eagle Hangar.
And, I think also, as long as we're talking about that, I think we want people to understand, obviously we've got work to do on that airplane in terms of the spars and that, and until we have a solid plan in terms of how we're going to do that, how we're going to source materials. Our maintenance team put the airplane back together. It's in the museum, which allows people to really see and experience that airplane. I think we'd all love to see the airplane back in the air. We just need a plan to be able to go do that. And, until we're at that point, folks will be able to experience at the museum.
Very good. Well, and the Eagle Hangar, which was built in 1989, one of the reasons for building that hangar was to be a home of the B-17. That was the centerpiece of the museum at that time. And I remember a great hue and cry from museum visitors when the airplane went out and went on tour. And it's fun to see that reverse now, where people are worried that the airplane won't fly again, and that sort of thing. So we've seen it come 180 degrees.
Well, and I think, full disclosure also, during the week of AirVenture, obviously we use the Eagle Hangar for a lot of events. And so the B-17 will actually be outside, adjacent to the museum, so people certainly have an opportunity to see it out there.
Okay. Will there be interior tours of the B-17?
And during AirVenture, not sure, but
okay.
Certainly Chris Henry's been working on a lot of programming associated with having the B-17 now back in the museum, including that. We certainly want to try to make it available and accessible, and I think you'll see that as we move forward.
Very good. Just before we came on the air, Leah Block gave me a quick rundown of some of the CAF aircraft that are planning to be there. We already talked about the B-29, the B-25 Miss Mitchell, the Devil Dog PBY, always a fan favorite. That's All Brother is now, they're planning to be there. The new plan there, so we'll hopefully see that in the air. The P-40 will be actually on display at the Phillips 66 tent. That's their featured aircraft this year. Wisconsin Wing is bringing their T-6 and T-34. Indiana Wing is bringing their aircraft. Bucket of Bolts is coming up from the Dallas area. We'll have 3 P-51s there: Gunfighter, Red Tail, and Red Nose. And also the Dauntless will be doing ride flights out of Fond du Lac. That will be there as well. And the Buckeye Wing is bringing their PT-26, and that will actually be featured in Warbirds in Review on Sunday. So, and I'm sure I've missed some because I was trying to write very quickly, and Leah was talking faster than I could write. But so if I missed you, I'm sorry. Please put that in the comments if you know your airplane is going to be there. We'll talk about it as well. One of the things happening this week, Rick, is the campground opens up. Camp Scholler opens on Friday the 28th.
It does, and beginning last night, we had people lining up for Camp Scholler. So it's always kind of cool to see that. I mean, I always look at the point that the campground opens. As far as I'm concerned, AirVenture has started, so it'll be interesting to watch the pad in front of camper registration build over the next 24 hours as we get to the opening on Friday morning. But it's pretty cool to see.
Cool. And in case you're wondering, because someone might be, it is $36 for the basic campsite per night and $87 for the improved sites. And you pay from the time you set up until you depart. But for most people, they don't depart until the end of the show. So but anyway, just keep that in mind. And you've added improved sites as well this year?
We've added a little over 100 additional improved sites. Every year they sell out. So what we've tried to do is make investments every year to expand the availability of that. And frankly, improvements in the campground this year, in areas where we've had to expand, dry camping. Obviously last year, we wound up in a somewhat impromptu way expanding the campground about 6 times, usually in the middle of the night, so that we could accommodate the demand the next day. And so this year we're out in front of it, from a planning standpoint, and I think we'll be we should be in good shape.
Good. And with the additional areas, did you also build up some of the infrastructure in those newer areas, showers, bus stops, that sort of thing?
Yep, roadways. So you'll see some of that in some of those areas. What we've really done is, some of the areas that we expanded into last year, and it was done in a very impromptu way. This year with, better layout so that we maximize the space, and, we certainly don't want to be turning people away.
Yeah. And that's always been a hallmark is at Camp Scholler is we'll find a spot for you. It may not be close to the flight line, but we'll find a spot for you, and then just jump a shuttle bus and head down on site.
That's exactly right.
I am reminded here we should not let you forget about the Veterans Parade on Friday as well. We talked about the honor flight, but then earlier in the day, about 1 o'clock, 1:30 is the Veterans Parade. Always inspirational as well.
It is, and as you said, I think it departs the Warbirds area at about 1:15, 1:30. Comes into the plaza with a welcome ceremony there just prior to the start of the air show on Friday.
Yeah, Rick, just a couple of minutes left. Any final thoughts before we wrap up tonight?
No, I think. As we, every year, look at it, what we've tried to do is put together something that has a lot of variety to it, something for everybody, and we feel like, this is going to be just another really good year. And honestly, the most important thing is, it just goes back to Paul. It goes back to, when he would talk about it might be, an airplane that might bring us together the first time. But after that, it's really the people. And that's really what AirVenture is all about. At the end of the day, that family reunion aspect, that feeling of being here with, just surrounded by like-minded people with common interest, and you can kind of divorce yourself of everything else that might be going on in the world, and in some cases your own world, and live and breathe, aviation. That's what separates the event. That's what makes it special. You mentioned the campground, still far and away, to me, the best way to go experience it, because then it becomes 24 hours a day. And it's the stuff that really, you walk away going, I'm glad I was part of that. I'm glad I was there. And there is something kind of cool being woken up at 7 a.m. and, whether it is by, ultralights or a yodeler, and, sitting around in the evenings talking airplanes.
Yeah. We mentioned the improvements at Camp Scholler, but also Bill also said you should give us a little insight on the expanded tram system, which helps people move on the site itself, because it is a large pedestrian event.
Yeah, Bill's right. We, and that's something we work, every year we review is, the layout of the trams, how they function, and we have done a lot over the last 2 to 3 years to try to improve the efficiency with, some new dedicated turnarounds, and just routes that, allow people to move more easily from one end of the site to the other. As everybody that has been here before knows, this is a big site. If you're all the way down at the far south end, and you look at the amount of flight line, adjacent to 1836, and then you loop around 927, there's 4 to 5 miles, I think, or more of flight line there. And then in all of that is camping and the exhibit side and, all the special interest communities. And so, we certainly do our best to try to help people move around. The tram side and the bus service is clearly one of those things. I think it's something, like I said, every year we step back and look at it and say, okay, what didn't work with that? How can we improve it? And, it certainly gets worked on every year.
Definitely. As I like to say, it is the shortest, longest week of the year. It is long days, but you turn around on Friday and realize that it's coming to a close, and you think, where did the last 5 days go? It is just an amazing week, and I can't wait. And Rick, we'll look forward to it. And thank you for taking some time out of what's probably a very busy schedule as you're getting everything ready for AirVenture, and we do appreciate it.
Oh, you're more than welcome. We look forward to seeing everybody in 26 days.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for joining us tonight. We'd love to hear your thoughts on tonight's episode or any ideas you have for future topics. But feel free to drop us a line at media@cafhq.org. Now, if you like tonight's show, please share it across your social media platforms, and remember to subscribe and click the bell icon to get new notifications when episodes of Warbird Tube are posted. All right, until next time, I'm Steve Buss, wishing you blue skies and tailwinds. Have a great night.